today we're going to be talking about the 7 pillars to conscious authority. All right. And these 7 pillars are very simple. It's a very simple topic today. And I say it's simple because I've been talking about this topic over and over and over again, even before I started working within the consciousness space. This is something that I, again, was trained on by with other people, something that I used throughout my career in business development, sales. And it really started at the beginning of my design career when I was designing advertisements, promotional materials, specifically for the events that I used to produce and host, and events that I do still produce and host. And as always, this is part of a 3-part series that I'm going to be utilizing for a submission for my master's thesis, which is really about, at the School of University and the School and University of Metaphysical Sciences, we have a very free range of a lot of different types of topics. We learn about a lot of different types of things, many different cultures, many different backgrounds. And metaphysics is really about the study of knowing and the study of being. And what I found over the last 3 years of my studies is that there's so much that goes with metaphysics, but it all stems about perception, what we perceive, what we're doing in our lives. Happy September. Hello, everybody. It's about identifying who you are, reflecting who you are, who you've been, because it's about a personal journey. We can talk about theories all day, but at the end of the day, it's really about you, the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with the cosmos. And for the past couple of years, I've also been online. I've been doing workshops via Zoom, via StreamYard. And what I have found, not only in just myself, but in the partnerships that I've had, is that these specific pillars are important for all means of communication. So some of you guys might learn something new. At the same time, some of you might already be acquainted with these pillars of communication, these pillars of conscious authority. But we're going to be taking a level deeper because, again, this is all about you and the people that you serve. So when it comes to these pillars, right, I've been able to do some things with them. I've used these professionally in my life. I use these pillars when I design any type of communication. It's also allowed me to help people like Narissa Bailey. She was in a position where her emotions towards her relationship with herself, her emotions towards her business, and what she was going through temporarily in her marriage was getting in the way of her inspiration, her motivation. She found herself not necessarily taking the actions necessary to have a successful coaching business. And, it started to get to her. She started posting on Facebook and online. And very shortly, we were able to connect and identify what was going on. And it was really something that was happening unconsciously. And the more that we went and worked through this unconscious, I would call baggage, right? And that's the term that she utilized to talk about this. The more we went through it, the lighter she got, the more excited she got, the more motivated she began to be. And then she started sharing more about her business and how she was presenting herself. And it started to change even her level of interest in continuing. And it was just very exciting, right? Because we started with what's going to position you as the only logical choice, right? With Scott was in a position where he didn't believe that he could host a big event. And this is somebody who's hosted 250, 350 people, 500 people on an event. And we met. I was one of the vendors for his events. And I told him, look, you can go bigger. And he just had this limiting belief. He didn't believe that he could handle something bigger. And, I just had some conversation with him, shifted his perspective and his perception about the challenge at hand. And he was able to pull off one of the biggest events, if not the biggest event of his life, in a little bit over 90 days, right? You have somebody like Francisco Gleeman, Dr. Andrea Melendez. More specifically, Dr. Melendez took these steps and these pillars and went from working for somebody else to stepping away from that job and then completely replacing her income with her own practice. She was able to even move down here to Florida and maintain that practice, specifically with clients in New Jersey in her counseling practice. And she's been able to diversify her income over and over again with some of the pillars that we're going to talk about. We have people like Michelle who came to me and didn't know how to talk to this prospect that she had. She didn't know how to price herself. She didn't know how to price the value of what she had to offer. Maybe 2 phone calls, we figured it out. The next phone call was her letting me know that she was able to close the deal for exactly the amount that she needed. And what she used was just one of the things that we're going to be talking about today. You have JC, who was spending 30 hours a month training some of his friends and family and ex-coworkers in cryptocurrency. And he felt that he needed to stay in front of the camera. He felt like he needed to hold people's hand on these Zoom calls, which was great. It was working for him, but he had no life, and he really wanted to be there for his wife and his newborn daughter. And I came into his business. We talked about a couple things, worked on some things emotionally, some things on his level of his subconscious, and more specifically, we expanded what he thought was possible for himself and how he can align his business, and it resulted in a huge transformation in his company. He developed new offers, and now he's on the verge of launching a software product that was the product of those early conversations. You have somebody like Amelia, who had no experience as a business owner, was just a content creator online and needed to find a way to build authority within her local network. And within a very short period of time, she locked arm with somebody who essentially gave her business away to her. She took on this event-based business, and never having built an event before, she locked arms with me. We worked on this event together, and it catapulted her into being one of the more sought after young professionals in the area, in the Boca Raton, South Florida area. And gentlemen, like most recently, one of my business partners, his name is Mikhail. Mikhail was coming off of a relationship with an ex-business partner, and it wasn't favorable. It was stressing him out. It was a very touchy subject, and he didn't feel like he could separate amicably. He felt like he needed to hide away and not necessarily be himself. And we had a few sessions, and not only was he able to work through whatever he worked through mentally and emotionally, but he was able to reposition himself so much so that he got into a new business, a new opportunity with an old mentor of his. And now he's positioned himself as the go-to person within that company. I would say number 2 to $100 million plus person. And he couldn't be happier with the new life that he's having. And again, he's using these strategies to position himself, and actually got his permission to go over a document that him and I put together not too long ago that expresses all these 7 pillars of conscious authority, right? So we're just going to go over some things today. The goals of the day are to clarify the conscious needed to transmit the power within you, right? The last few sessions, we talked about the 5 levels of the mind. Today, we're going to talk about how to leverage the fact that you have this knowledge not only about yourself, but about potentially other people and potentially the people that you serve, and how you can use that as a leverage mechanism to really communicate the power that's within you without having to say much. All right. We're going to talk about how to create a message to market match to empower your tribe, whether that be your coworkers, whether that be your own family, or simply some people that are looking towards you as the person to help them solve a problem. And we're also going to be talking about how to construct a powerful presence and powerful content that's going to position you as an expert online and offline, right? So again, we're going to be going over a lot. Please take notes. I'm going to go in and out of this presentation to show you different things. And as always, the people who benefit today are those who are transitioning. They're at the crossroads in what they're doing professionally. Maybe they're looking at something new to do. Maybe they're trying to get some more income, maybe have a pay increase at their job, or simply just come off as more authentically in their communication. This is for people who are entrepreneurs, people who work for themselves, as well as it is for people who are visionaries and working for other brands, mainly people who are motivated to make a change, right? That's who this is for. And I'm sure that those people are here. Just to reiterate, I know last time I was really focusing on my background as a health coach and a Psyche facilitator. And I just want to remind you that some of these things that I've learned, I've learned having leverage training, having leverage just experiences and working with some of the biggest brands in telecommunications, in fashion. How do you communicate without talking? How do you communicate with seeing them the least amount of words possible? Or how do you leverage a brand that everybody knows and loves already to have a conversation to help somebody make a change, right? And I've had the opportunity to do that. And today we're actually going to talk about some of the things that I put it in my first book, Conscious Leverage Creation. It really does talk about the 7 levels and the 7 pillars of conscious authority without me really talking about them as the 7 pillars. So kind of spread throughout the book. But you'll get a copy of that today. And this is what I do for people that come to my events is try to give them as much as I possibly can for free up front, because I figured if I'm going to have conversations and the conversations are going to be the same over and over again, I might as well put it into content that we can share, right? So let's recap. The conscious trap that I was in before I was able to do all the things that I've done, right? I was perceiving reality as Josmar, right? And it was really due to the beliefs, instincts, emotions, all the things that I have been I guess gathering through my life experience, right? Generational beliefs, the environments that I grew in, they were informing the way that I was behaving, right? They were the filter from which my actions and my reactions were being generated. And over time, these developed into habits, and I couldn't even see the fact that I was in a consciousness trap, right? And it was affecting my life, it was affecting my finances, it was affecting the results of my life. And over time, in 2014, when kind of everything hit the fan, and within a month's period of time, I lost my job. My mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. My dad lost his job. Car was repossessed. We were forced to move out. I realized that, look, these are the results, but this is not necessarily my destiny. And I could see that I didn't want to continue to live out that life. So I started to look at, like, how am I co-creating this reality? Like, let's just sit back a little bit and reflect. How is it that I got here, right? Because at the end of the day, these habits and these behaviors over time are co-creating my experience, are the things that I do every day. But how did it come to this, right? And it really came down to the psychology and the perception that I was coming from and living my life and showing up in my career. So we've talked about this extensively over the last 2 weeks, about the different pillars and the different levels of the mind. Today, I'm going to talk about these 7 pillars, because these 7 pillars is what I started to do to kind of transition. These are the things that I started to kind of reflect on, to reinvent myself, right? So the first part is giving people what they want, right? What worked so well in the past is that I learned how to give people what they want. Right? They wanted the results. I was able to identify that almost everywhere in my life, I was delivering up front. I was doing work up front. I was helping people up front with things. I showed up and then asked for things after the fact, right? I wasn't really good at, like, taking a step-by-step process to getting clear about what I wanted, and it served me and it didn't serve me, right? But it's something that even till today, it's a gift that's helped me shift the way I perceive myself, shift the role or my role awareness, but more specifically, coach others when it comes to their offers, right? So pillar number 2 is delivering something up front. You might want to screenshot this. We're going to go over this extensively, but again, this is a good thing to screenshot. So when you deliver up front, what do I mean by delivering upfront? I'm not telling you to work for free. I'm telling you to be able to put yourself in a position where you have something of value that you can transfer to somebody else, right? Go through the work of understanding what somebody needs and give them that up front. And don't just give them that up front. Try to identify all the things that they're going to need after that thing that you gave them. Anticipate the next step for them so that they can go about taking advantage of pillar 3, which is following a step-by-step process. Give them this, by you giving these people a step-by-step process to follow, you're in a position where you're positioning yourself as an expert. You know some things because you've had the experience. And not only do you have the experience, but you know what to do and what not to do, right? And the what knowing what to do and what not to do is where you can start to provide some unique, useful insights about what it is that you're looking to offer somebody, right? The specific insights that can help them change what they are perceiving in the moment as problems and into opportunities for the future, right? So having them recontextualize how they're thinking so that and you do that by, again, over delivering, giving people valuable content, but showing case studies, showing experiences, telling stories of other people's experience having gone through the steps when they followed them and having them had a solution or a problem or problem solved, right? And they sense that happiness, right? And the next part, and I would say the last part, and some would even argue this is the first thing, is give yourself the end result you want, right? And typically the end result for people is a monetary value. It might be material things. It might be an experience. And what we're going to learn today, it's a lot more than that, right? So I'm just going to go through these slides, right? Now, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more than I typically do because, again, there's a lot of gifts that I'm giving you, and I want you guys to understand the gifts that you're going to be receiving, right? So with the 7 pillars in mind, one thing that works when you're doing marketing is getting somebody's attention. You need to be able to hook somebody. You need, especially in today's day and age, where people have 7 seconds, or maybe even less of your attention when they see something, especially on social media. You need to provide them something that hooks them, right? And again, you're going to get a little bit of that. You got to be able to identify the problems that you're solving, right? What are the top 5 to 10 problems that either, again, if you're in a business and you have customers or you're looking to be in business and are going to enroll or engage in prospects and customers in the future, you need to be able to identify the problems that they actually currently have, what they're currently going through, what's getting in their way. And from there is identifying the solution to those problems, right? Because if you have the solution to those problems, obviously you're positioning yourself as somebody who knows what to do. And from there, it's not just about solving the problems, but demonstrating through your work previously how you provided those results or helped provide those results in assisting other people, right? Showing the proof. And past that, maybe some benefits or features that you or they might experience when they're working with you, some things that differentiate you from other people, or some things that may not be apparent when you first look at something, or maybe it's a product, maybe it's a service, maybe there's a features that are not necessarily apparent. It is imperative that you are able to communicate these things, right? And obviously having a call to action, right? So I'm also going to be giving you a little bit of training on these 6 steps as well. So not only just the 7 pillars, but also the 6 steps to conscious marketing. And more even so than that, just recapping where we've been, right? We've talked about the conscious mind and how it's really the receiver of the transmission that's coming in from the superconscious. We've talked about that the subconscious mind as being the operator underneath the surface that's actually making things happen, right? It's where the storehouse and library of all your memories or experience are housed. And these two work together. The conscious and the subconscious mind work together to create your life experience as you know it. Majority of your awareness is here, right? Besides that, we have the unconscious mind, which is the parts where we've repressed emotions, we've repressed memories, some deeper, darker stuff that we're not looking to face. And at the same time, some very positive things like body function and the function of your organs and the function of your systems in your body. So how do we create content that speaks to all these levels? Right? How do we create super conscious content? How do we take what we talked about last week in meditating and getting into the moment and asking the higher aspects of your mind yes or no questions? How do we leverage that mind to create content that feels supernatural when somebody's going through it, right? Or that provides somebody with that guidance and support that they're really looking for, right? So we're going to talk about these things. And even before we get there, the goal is to make the unconscious conscious. Okay. So if you're in a position where you're just starting out as a profession, as an entrepreneur, or in any endeavor, right? If somebody doesn't know that you offer this service or you offer this product or you have this hobby or you're doing this new thing, and you want to let people know or start to let people know, you got to understand where they're at. You got to understand, and I'll give you an example. When it came to me starting this work, a lot of people didn't know that you can shift your subconscious beliefs. They thought they were just stuck with their programming, right? They were unconsciously incompetent, right? As was I. I didn't know that I can do this until I picked up the book that taught me the specific techniques to do this for myself. And when I started to do this for myself, everything started to change, right? I went from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. That's when I realized that I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And that was okay, right? I was consciously aware that I was not aware of a couple of things. I was consciously aware that I didn't know a few things that were getting in my way, right? And when you're working with new people and you're talking to them, or you're seeing, or they're seeing an ad online, or they're seeing a post, they may be having this experience or what you're sharing with them, they weren't aware of before. And you got to realize that most people don't know what we know. Most people haven't had our experience. So they don't know where to come from. They don't know, like they're just not aware, it's not their fault. It's about us being able to guide a person gently in a way where we're bringing them from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. And as soon after that, we want to have them experience what it is to be consciously competent, right? And how do we do that? We do this through repetition. We do this through providing content that actually helps people understand something, right? And then we also do this by showing up over and over and over again, by being repetitive, by showing up consistently, by showing up constantly. And that serves people both online and offline, right? It's maybe you're working with somebody and they've already engaged you as a coach or as a counselor or whatever you do in your professional career, and now they're starting to learn through working with you. Maybe it's a session at the gym and you're a personal trainer and they didn't know about specific exercises, and they didn't know how to eat properly, and they didn't know how to drink water properly, or how much sleep they needed to get in order to have really substantial results over time with their fitness goals, right? They learn this through doing it. They become more competent over time. And then when you do something over and over and over again, you get into the realm of where top performance typically happens, which is unconscious competence, where it's where you don't even think about doing something, you're just doing it, right? You've gone through it so many times where you don't have to even be focused to actually get it done, right? It's just automatic, almost like driving a car, right? Follow along. When you first learn how to start driving a car, you don't know what you're doing. You don't even know that you don't know. You're a kid. You're like, oh, I wish I could drive, right? You really want to drive. Maybe you really want a car. You wish that your parents could take you everywhere. And you're like, one day I'm going to get a car and I'm going to drive myself wherever I want to go, right? Then you actually get in the car. You're 16 or 15 if you're in Florida, right? And you get your permit. And now you're in the car and you're like, okay, hold on. I gotta press on the brake. Right, hold on. I gotta press on the brake, and now I gotta move the gear into park, or I gotta move the gear into reverse, or I gotta move the gear into, whatever, where drive, right? And every time you're doing this, you have to remind yourself, right? Because it's something that you're still not aware of, right? You're like, maybe you don't know how to adjust the windshield wipers, or or maybe how to adjust the side mirrors. Maybe you have a new car where you could adjust it within the car. Maybe you have to actually get out the car and move the window, right? It's like you're kind of learning things as you go, right? You've gotten from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, and now you're starting to be in that conscious competence phase, right? Where you only can do things by focusing on them, right? And then after a while, you get so good at driving where now you're driving yourself to work, and you're on the phone, you're eating a sandwich, you're babysitting somebody in the back seat, you're doing 25 different things, and you still get to the destination because you've gone to that destination so many times. That's where your driving is just automatic. You're unconsciously competent. You can do it in your sleep, almost in your sleep, right? Those 4 levels of competence is, you need to realize that these are the levels that other people need to be guided through, right? It's not so much for ourselves, for us to guide ourselves from these things, right? If you're an expert in your field, you've already gone through these steps, right? For somebody else, they need to see that you've gone through these steps. So you need to be able to tell stories about how you went through those steps of competency. And you also need to realize that they're also going along this journey where they're going from unconscious to conscious incompetence to conscious and unconscious competence, right? And by the time they're at unconscious competence, they're getting the results on their own. They might not need you to be holding their hand anymore, right? Maybe they're in a position where they're teaching other people now, right? And that, for at least for me, and the ways that I do business, is where I want my clients to be and my mentees and students to be, is getting them to the point where they don't need me anymore, because I've given them, I provided them something that they can learn and master. And again, that's one of the pillars of conscious authority, is to be the expert. Give them what they need up front. Give them the steps that they can follow, right? So I just wanted to premise that. And when it comes to us, this is a representation of the body. And this can be used for receiving or transmitting, right? But when I put this image up and I start to talk about what's happening now, right? Consciously, your energy is coming into you, and you're choosing to filter it out through your experiences, your thoughts, and those thoughts eventually become feelings and emotions that are translated to your emotional mind, that are causing you to behave and react, right? We kind of went over this on the other slide. Now, when it comes to that's on the receiving end, right? That's when the conscious mind is receiving the transmission from the superconscious, and then it's going to the subconscious, where a lot of your nonverbal behaviors coming from, your nonverbal communication, your automatic stuff, those automatic reactions, they're causing the big R, right? When you're on the transmitting end, it works in a very similar way, right? When we're having an internal experience through our emotions, our beliefs, the cultural beliefs, generational beliefs, and we're having this external experience through this physical 3D reality that we're in, right? Our clothing, what we wear, the skin, our skin color, this is the external experience that not only you have, but other people have of you, right? So you're constantly receiving information, but you're also transmitting these thoughts, these emotions in the form of electromagnetic frequencies. The vibes is what we're talking about. You're giving me these vibes, right? This is something that's trending now, right? That's what people are talking about. They are confirming what they're sensing through their perception based on what you are externally expressing and transmitting out through your own consciousness. And many theologians, divinity professionals, spiritual counselors would argue that we're all divine. And this is something that I truly believe. What happens is that we forget. And we allow for our experience of life to develop this internal experience and this internal frequency or collection of frequencies where we forget that we have this divinity. We have all this external experience. We have all this material experience, forgetting that we're literally human beings, right? And part of being a human being is that we're really spiritual beings having a human experience in this human body, right? So just as much as we're receiving, we're always transmitting. In fact, we're transmitting first. And that's what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of slides, right? So when it comes to back to this, again, I'm giving you guys some things that you can take screenshots of. There's a lot of stuff coming at you. And if you decide to train with me moving forward, we're going to get into all these little things little by little in a more granular way, something that's more personal to you. And the first part of at least the laws of creation and why I decided to name my business Leverage Creators, and almost all the things that I do ends with the word creators is because that's what we're doing. We don't do anything else. And it's that way because we exist. We are created in the light and the image of the most divine high. And if you exist, if we go back scientifically into the thoughts, what we've already know, it's something that's probably been hammered into your brain, is that energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed, right? It's a law of nature. It's a universal law too, and it stems from the idea that you exist. And if you exist, you always have, and you always will, right? We're going to start to get underneath the surface of the conscious aspect of conscious authority. Because you can have authority, doesn't necessarily mean you're consciously aware of why, right? But you exist. So we're going to start there, right? It's a big idea that you exist, you always have, and you always will in some shape or form, right? The next law of creation is that the one is the all, and the all is the one. Let me rephrase. The one is the all. When I have traveled the world and spoke to many different people from different cultures, I've had a lot of friends who are Christian. I have a lot of friends who are Jewish. I have a lot of friends who are Islamic and practice the Muslim culture. I have some friends that are Buddhists. I have some friends that are Taoists. I have some friends that are pagan. I have friends that represent pretty much all the major religions. I have friends that are Mormon. I have friends that, again, some Sikh friends from all walks of life. And we talk about this idea of the creator or God or source. And from my studies, from my personal experiences, and just using some sound logic, if God is all things, then nothing can exist outside of it. If source is all things, if the creator is all things, then nothing can exist outside of it, because then that wouldn't make it the all, right? It wouldn't be the supreme being or the supreme energy or this supreme phenomena if things can exist outside of it, right? So let's just talk about that from that perspective. That one being all that is must be the all, right? So if the one is the all and the all is the one, then you are part of that, and so is your audience, right? There is a deeply seated divine relationship between you and your audience. Nothing makes you better than them. Nothing makes them more better than you, right? It's when we start to create this hierarchy of needs that we start creating this class system or this hierarchy system that at the end of the day it might help us navigate through the social aspect of our lives, but it's not necessarily the truth of our relationship with each other, right? The one is the all and the all is the one. And again, this is the type of stuff that I want you to screenshot because we're going to be talking about this later, right? But I'm going to go through this information first so that we have something to talk about, right? What you put out is what you get back, is the third law of creation. Some might remember, I believe it, I forgot which one of it was the second law or the third law, Newton's law. where you get what you give, right? Each action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? What you put out is what you get back. And most people believe that you must, that having, you need to have something first in order to give it, right? Uh, and I would say, yeah, it comes from you, right? But it's in the giving that we receive. It's in the giving that we receive more. It's in the giving of our action. It's in the giving of our time, our energy, our money that we receive something in return, right? So for the sake of this conversation, we're going to talk about what it is to give first, or what it is to put out, right? What it is to send something, and if we're going to take ownership of ourselves as this conscious authority, we must understand that as the conscious mind is not the conceiver, but is the receiver, right? So us and ourselves, we're also being given our experience of life, right? And the fourth law is that change is the only constant, and everything changes. The only thing that doesn't change are those first three laws, but everything else is always in constant change. It's always in a constant flux of change. So things don't ever stay the same. You may believe they stay the same, but they're not actually the same. They've grown, they've developed, they're either growing or dying. Nothing is ever static, right? And we could talk about this, and this is proven out on the quantum physics side of things. This is proven in chemistry. This is proven in almost all hard sciences that we can actually test using the scientific method, right? Change is the only constant. So what does that mean for us, right? If change is the only constant, you exist, the all is the one, you get what you're if everything is always changing, that means that you're always changing. And if you're always changing, then what you're giving is always changing. And if what you're giving is always changing, and the one is the all and the one is the all, that means that everybody else has experienced the changes that you're making within yourself, right? Because they have to. And this is something that stems past space and time, because you exist and they exist. We all exist because the one is the all and the all is the one. So if change is the only constant, then we must be willing to change with the current. We must be willing to take an active role in that change. And when it comes to changing what we know and what people know, it comes down to this. It comes down to how we retain information. We learn 10% of what we read on average, about 22% of what we hear, upwards of 35+% of what we see. But it's when we start to combine these, when you start to combine what you see and what you hear and what you feel, is when it starts to go deeper, right? And then when you see, hear, and then do something, that's when you're learning at the highest level. That's when the retention of information is happening, right? So it's imperative that as you put out work, put out content, whether it be a book, whether it be a course, whether it be a video, whether it be a coaching program, is that you have to have other people experience not only just words, not only just you talking or maybe an audio or a video or even a demonstration like a PowerPoint. They need to see, hear, feel, and do it. And over the last few weeks, we've been doing a lot of doing, right? So with today, it's about what can we do to make an impact on other people? What can we provide that allows for others to retain the information that we're giving them and then utilize that information so that they can do something with it, have an experience, internalize what they're doing from that experience, and then reinforce it over and over and over again. And this is why having steps and a step-by-step plan to follow is so important. It's also important to know what it is that you do at a higher level and be able to communicate it, because people, one, need to be handheld nowadays, but more specifically, your ability to communicate a step-by-step process is in direct alignment with your authority in the marketplace, right? You need to be able to walk people through a process. You need to be able to teach somebody how to do something, right? Or guide them through a process that they're already doing, maybe saving them a lot of time, maybe saving them some energy or some money down the line. But it's in their ability to do something that they haven't been able to do before. It's going from that unconscious incompetence to that unconscious competence that is going to allow them to retain that information, and that's going to come through reinforcement, right? So it's not just one piece of content that it's going to do for them. You need to be able to over deliver, right? And again, so this is why this is so important. And the theme of today is that we need to give, and that we need to give upfront. Okay, so let me just get out of here real quick and see where we are in this presentation. Perfect. So I am going to share these couple screens, and at the same time, I'm going to be going over to Chrome to speak about some things, right? So first thing in the first pillar, in the 7 pillars, and we're going to go now a little bit deeper into each of these. I'm going to share you some examples. We got to give them what they want. People are only really in it to win it. They're only really in it to get something out of it, right? They're going to ask themselves, and you should be asked yourself, what is in it for me? What is in it for them? What do they want, right? What do they want and need, right? And I'll say more about what they want. And what they really want is to experience a sense of achievement, right? They want to experience some achievement. So if you want to follow along, I'm actually going to be writing notes as I go along so that you guys can see. Can you guys still see the screen? PowerPoint, right? Beautiful. So the first thing that you need to realize is that people have problems, right? And I would say this is actually the first step for achievement, is identify a problem, right? People have problems. So if people have problems, in order to do something about them, they need to develop a solution, right? Whether that be you who has a solution or somebody else, if you want to position yourself, you should be providing the solution to the people that are looking to you to answer their problems, right? What is the solution that you have? What makes your solution different, right? But having solution is not even questionable now. You need to have it, right? Besides knowing what the problem is and having a solution, is being able to have somebody experience achievement in solving the problem, right? So I'll give you an example. With Narissa, we spoke about her earlier. This is Narissa. Well, I'm saying if you watched the video of her earlier, Narissa again was in a position where she wasn't taking actions in her business. She was experiencing this emotional turmoil in her career and her relationships at home. And what I was able to do was just guide her through some questions. You know, she's a coach. I'm a coach. We were basically having coaching conversations, but the questions I was asking her were more specific about her emotions and her beliefs. And, you know, by that time I had learned and been certified in Psych K, and it had my health and life certification as well when it comes to coaching. And I utilized all the things at my disposal to create a solution for her. And upon solving that problem for her, she experienced a sense of achievement, right? She was able to get over herself or break through these this emotional, you know, these emotions that she didn't want to feel. They're not favorable, right? So this experience in solving the problem created a sense of achievement, and the sense of achievement allowed her to feel a boost of self-esteem. So she felt excited about what she was doing. She felt excited about the work that she was going through. She felt even more empowered to serve the people she was serving. So she experienced what most people don't feel, at least don't feel often, is a state of happiness. All right. So I would argue, and I know many of my colleagues would also agree with me, that happiness is a state of being that is fleeting. It's not something that we're always going to experience. In fact, that we almost visit the experience over and over again in our life, and we experience it the most when we have a problem and we solve it. And we solve that problem and it helps us feel good. Sometimes we also experience this happiness when we see people who have problems and we help them solve it. And we are part of the process and we feel better because we feel the sense of achievement that we've helped somebody else. Sometimes that sense of achievement comes when they send over a testimonial video or case study, right? It'll boost your self-esteem. Maybe they're talking about you when they're at an event or they're in a conversation with somebody, be a friend, family, coworker, whoever, a stranger, complete stranger sometimes. If you've helped somebody enough to the point where you solved a problem for them, where they experience this sense of achievement and no longer have the issue, or at least know how to navigate the issue. This boost of self-esteem and this happiness will inspire them to talk about it to other people and share the solutions that you have with other people, right? So if we want the people to experience this sense of achievement, we have to help them solve a problem. But even before we help them solve a problem, they need to know that you are the person that has the help, right? So what we're going to do is in this next slide, I'm going to provide you guys with a set of questions that I've been asking myself over and over and over again since 2012. Every time that I changed careers, every time that I started to position myself differently online, and it was started with, what's my title, right? So again, if you have a notepad, pencil, write these questions down. If you want to do this experience as we go along, right? And it's okay if we don't finish it, because you're going to have some gifts that will support you in this exercise as well, a little bit more and above what we're doing live here. So what is your title? And what do you do? And how long does it take? Right? And when I asked, what do you do, it's a lot more than just the title. This is why it's separate as a question. What you do is typically the actual action steps that you take in helping somebody, or what you do at your job. Whether it's, whether you're in front of people or you're in front of a computer, if you're a process person and an engineer, or you're serving customers physically, right? What is it that you actually do? And how do you do it? Like, how long does it take typically, right? It's imperative that you know about this for yourself, right? Next step is, what or who do you do it for? Who are you serving? Who is the audience specifically that you're helping? If you're selling cars, who specifically? Are you selling cars to family members? Are you selling cars to anybody? Are you selling luxury vehicles to people who have the income to specifically to be able to not only buy a car but to pay for a car long term and maintain it, right? Are you serving people in a specific age bracket? Are you serving a specific gender, right? Who or what are you serving? Who or what are you doing this thing for, right? And when you can answer what's in it for them, like what they get out of the experience, and talk about why people choose you specifically, whether that be your life experience, whether it be, you know, certificates that you've gotten, or specific records that you've set, or awards or rewards that you've achieved, right? Why do people choose you? Maybe it's your story. Maybe it's, what something that has been passed down to you from a previous generation. You know that answer, right? Estelle knows that answer. She helps women feel great and healthy between beautiful in 90 days through sustainable holistic habits that last a lifetime. I love that, right? You're gonna get something good out of today as well, because you're gonna even be able to layer that pitch even better. But again, it's already good. But since you posted it, we're gonna talk about it, right? How do they change as a result, right? In Ezelle's case, she helps women feel great and healthy and beautiful in 90 days. Okay. How do people change as a result? What do they gain? Right. They're gaining these holistic habits potentially. What does that look like? Right. And I asked you to be more thorough in the way that you answer these questions, because hey, sometimes you're going to be in a conversation with somebody at an event. Could be a wedding, could be at Publix when you're buying, or ShopRite when you're buying something. It could be at Walmart. It could be when you're out and about. Maybe you're on a flight to another country, and somebody looks at you. You're dressed right. You seem approachable, and they ask you, "What do you do?" Right? It's not just about a pitch anymore. It's not just about that hook anymore. It's about actually having a conversation with that person. So, for the sake of this example, I'm going to provide you with some of the answers that I've chosen to use in the past, right? So, when people ask what my title is, say, well, look, I'm an investor, I'm a capital growth consultant, I produce events, I design, and now, especially after this presentation, this workshop, and you've probably already seen this on my Instagram and my Facebook, is that I'm letting people know that I'm a metaphysician. I'm letting people know up front that I have a background in metaphysics, because I too didn't feel comfortable enough in sharing that until I had this piece of paper, right? But the case studies speak for themselves, right? And what I do now is I consult founders and owners of companies, and specifically owner operators. I work with them one-on-one on how they're positioning themselves. I help them design presentations, funnels, marketing assets, things that they can use to present themselves in a way that's unforgettable, present themselves as a conscious authority, and do it so authentically from the heart. And over time, through the work that we do together, is to automate that process, right? So that's what I actually do. I can even take it a little bit deeper. Say I host one-on-one sessions on Zoom. I meet people physically. I audit their business models. I look at their copywriting. I look at the designs that they've produced in the past. I look at what ad campaigns work if they've been using ad campaigns. I question the things that they've done. I get on the phone and call their clients and their customers and collect case studies. I ask them those questions. I ask them the questions to understand what their experience was actually like, right? And I like to do this with people who have a service-based business and wants to shift online, because I too knew what it was like to transition online. And most people don't have the wherewithal to make that transition without losing their mind. Let's just keep it G, right? And I found that when I'm working with them in positioning, what always comes up is their consciousness. What always comes up are their limiting beliefs, emotion. And that's why I've pivoted over the last few years and to focus more so on the consciousness. Now, what's in it for them is that they're going to learn what to say, how to say, when to say it, how to convert somebody who's a complete stranger or who's a complete suspect into a prospect, and how to communicate freely, how to communicate without fear from a place of power, and have things in place to invite people to, right? Regardless of where they're at, or the level of the conversation that they're having with somebody. And people choose me because I've done it before. They choose me because I listen and I understand what they really want. I understand what their life's work is. I reorganize it in a way that converts. I help them look at their life and their career in a different way. I extract and I go back into the past, and I see how their past is informing the present. And sometimes in that process, we're reconditioning or reprogramming how they perceive their past, right? So that they can overcome fears and phobias that are getting in the way of generating millions for their companies, or getting in the way of having a phone conversations, or getting in the way of them saying yes to themselves and finally hiring those people that they said that they wanted to hire forever, right? Or maybe they're afraid of going to other companies to start to create joint venture partnerships because they don't have their stuff together, right? What I've been able to do is that for businesses, and I just share stories and case studies of my experiences, and how they change is that they, at the end of the day, they feel confident and they convert any conversation into potential revenue, right? In many cases, I've helped businesses replace their income. Sometimes the result I've created for them is that I help them overcome their fears of presenting on stage. In some cases, I've helped them overcome their fear of flying in less than 90 days. In other cases, it's been I've helped them generate $100,000 in less than 90 days. right? The result that I've used has changed over and over and over again. And I wanted to note these down as the six questions that I asked, because when you do it this way, it's good for your own knowledge. But when you're talking to people, you almost want to work backwards. You want to talk about people what the result is, like Itzel just did, right? She helps people, she talks about the result first, because people want to feel a sense of achievement, and we need to communicate what they want up front. And that's why that pitch works, is because she's doing all the right things. And I'm sure she's had some help from somebody who already has the results that she's looking to do and looking to get as a holistic health coach or nutrition coach, right? So those are the six questions, and I'm telling you, you are not you. It's okay to question yourself, and it's okay to consistently ask yourself these questions, because it's in consistently asking yourself these questions that you actually get to some pretty profound answers. Sometimes you go a little bit deeper than you've allowed yourself to go to in the past, or you get a little bit more general about what it is that you actually do. So then it kind of demystifies your process, right? And when you can tell people exactly what you do and how you do it, and then you invite them in to experience that with you, and then you actually do it the way that you said that you would, you build such a level of trust. You build such a level of authority that it's hard to negate. So I'm going to save you from these videos because you've already watched some of it, right? Now, pillar number 2, you want to deliver upfront, right? And over delivering upfront allows for somebody to know that you actually care, that you actually give a F, right? You care enough, so much so, to give them what they need up front. Sometimes, bro, they don't feel like they need you, but they do inevitably, and that's why you want them to come back. But it's not about them coming back and buying. It's not about having this hard sales type of experience with somebody. You want to give them the results up front. You want to give them, some training up front. I'm literally doing it right now, right? I'm giving you guys a lot of information over the last 3 weeks, because I'm trying to inspire you to do something different. I'm trying to inspire you to make a change, right? And more, and so much more that, maybe you feel inclined later on to share what I'm going to be gifting you tonight, what I'm going to be gifting you over the next week, and updates on the website on emotionalincome.com, so that you have a recording of what we talked about over the last few weeks, right? And a lot of other things that I've promised you, and some things that I haven't even told you about, right? Because there is a chance that you might share it with somebody else. And if you share it with one person, I'd be extremely grateful. Not because I need the money, but because I care about what I'm talking about. And for some people, it could be the biggest differentiator in their life. I don't know that. You don't know that. So it's important that when you're creating something and you're creating content, that you over deliver up front. Because what I found is that, especially in this world that we live in today, this online social media world, is that things go viral when you can share them. I want you to think about that. Things go viral because people can share them. And if you have you ever like been online and maybe you saw a YouTube video, or maybe it was like an Instagram video, and you were like so hype about what you were learning, like somebody was giving you that game, like you were learning something that you probably didn't know about. They were like demystifying some things, they were busting myths, and you're like, oh my God, this is the goods. Let me go send this to my homegirl. Let me go send this to my boy right now. Right? If you've ever had that experience, this is what I'm talking about. And if you're going to be producing content, you want to, at one point in your life, produce something that has that type of effect. That it's something so valuable that you're almost like, wow, this person's giving all this away. Or it almost feels like you're stealing from them, right? When you share it. That feeling is what makes it viral. right? It's that sensation that you experience where you're literally inspired to share it, right? Your spirit is asking and calling upon you to share that thing, right? So when I've done this in the past, I've done this in the form of free opt-ins. I've written ebooks and I've done this. We've done online challenges for different companies that I've worked with. I've had free membership websites on Facebook, and I'm going to be sharing one with you today, right? I've created low level information products like courses, books, physical books. I've given some of these books away for free, right? I have different copies of like so much different content pieces that I've created that at one point I've charged for them, or I still charge for them, but I've given them away for free. I've over delivered and I've given them away, even at a discount, even if it's not for free. But giving somebody more than what they're asking for. Uh, One, it puts you in a position where they know that they can trust you because you know a little bit more about the subject than they can. But you're also tapping into the law of reciprocity, and the law of reciprocity, for the sake of this conversation, is where somebody feels they need to reciprocate. You've given something to them of value, they feel like they need to reciprocate back, right? It's almost like the loop isn't closed until you feel like you've given something valuable back to them for that level of exchange, right? And not everything is perfect. Not every way is going to give you that level of exchange back, but it's not about that. It's about over delivering up front, right? Because you can say that you did it and you feel much better about it. And it's really about the feeling, right? Sometimes I've done online coaching. I've done group coaching. I'm doing group coaching, right now. The last couple of weeks we've done more one-on-one conversation where I'm actually coaching. Today's just more of a lesson, right? But these are the type of things that you can do and you can use as a means to over deliver. Or sometimes we give free giveaways, free discounts, free training videos. If you're producing content on Facebook, Instagram, or even YouTube specifically, you're essentially giving away free content, right? So you can use digital products now to provide value and deliver things up front without having to physically be present, right? And one of the ways that we found that has probably been the most, it's almost so saturated now, is the idea of having a free course or a module course step by step, right? So in this day and age where information is so readily available, it's almost like you have to have, if you're going to have a business or if you're going to have an online coaching program or some type of consulting service or service based business that you're launching or have already had, one of the things that you've probably seen or even thought about is creating a modular step-by-step course or a video series, right? Or an online challenge, right? These type of things nowadays, it's almost become standard in the field of internet marketing, right? So you can pull some ideas from here as to the things that you can use in over delivering results. And what I would say is even more than over delivering in the form of, let's just say, opt-ins and courses, is you can be more specific. You can give people a clarity call. And if you're here, you're going to be getting a script for a clarity call, right? You're going to get a free coaching phone call. And for those of you who apply and qualify, you're going to be getting a free coaching call from me, right? Another thing that I've used is free consultations or intro meetings where I introduce people. And that could happen online, that could happen offline at a coffee shop, right? But these are little things that you can use. They're transformational experiences, and the fact that they allow for somebody to feel there's a before and an after. There is a before, who they were before the call, who they were before the meeting, and who they are after the meeting, right? Your goal as a content creator, as an authority in your field, is to provide an experience for people that's transformational, that allows them to go from start to finish, that allows them to go from A to B, for the before and after, right? And that might be a full program, right? But whatever you decide to do, whatever super conscious says, it's probably you're in your best interest. You always want to check in with the super conscious. It could be a free demo. It could be a free workshop, whether that be online or offline. It could be a trade show. You can over deliver by hosting an actual physical event that the tickets are free because you're going to be buying stuff there. I don't know, right? These are just ideas of some potential things that you can do, right? Hosting an online summit, a live challenge, and maybe it's a free online course like I've talked about already, right? So just some ideas. If you want to take a screenshot of this, please do so. Um, you also get some copies of this in the bonus training. So, some examples, things that I've created in the past as free opt ins, talks, PDFs, free Facebook groups, YouTube channels. We've done a free Zoom calls that came with the workshop and a workbook. Uh, things like affiliate links, affiliate flyers, websites for people who are building with me. Just again, an entire affiliate slide or swipe file of different things that people can use to present or deliver and transfer some type of value to somebody else, right? So I'll give you an example of one person who utilized, I guess, the different levels of authority that we were talking about, right? And I mentioned his story before, he was in a position where he was working 30 hours a month on a Zoom calls, 4 hours, 4 times a day, 2 hours each day, teaching people about cryptocurrency. And then when that month would end, he'd do the exact same thing with another group of people, a new group of 12 people, same information, same content, 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, 4 weeks straight. And he did this for 12 months, right? And we were just talking about it. And, what he was able to experience after is that we developed new offers because we went and we spoke to his clients and what their need, what their problems were, created some solutions, and we did a successful 6-figure launch. And, it started with really identifying what he wanted and then what his clients and students wanted. Right. And we were able to generate in a very short period of time $100,000 for a new offer that we created together. And it wasn't even an idea when we first started working together, right? It's something that came out of the creative process, something that came out of the sessions that we were having one-on-one. We were popcorning and brainstorming ideas. And, kind of after a while, he started to get more comfortable with doing things a little bit different. And we had a pretty successful launch of this product. And, I know that he was very happy with the result.
Your idea to create a lifetime membership, I would never take credit for that because I thought that was genius. Sometimes I have to pinch myself because are we really, because we're so young and yet so much has been accomplished and you have played such a big role in that. And we now
Again, we're in a position now where we're creating a new brand, a new business. And it would have never been possible had we not gone through these 7 pillars, but also started to work on his mind, right? All these things happen when we started to do the work. And what it was in his case is I literally gave him a step-by-step plan to follow, right? We literally had it all laid out, right? So you want to provide your people with a step-by-step process, right? Break it down. Break it down, right? Sometimes people know everything or they act like they know everything for the sake of just being that way, right? In your case, you want to be able to explain what you do to a 5-year-old, right? Give them the steps to follow. Because when you're able to communicate in a way that people can follow a step-by-step process, again, it positions you as a person who knows what they're talking about. It positions you as a person who cared enough to break it down. They see that you actually thought about this stuff, right? And that you cared enough to put it in a way that they can take actionable steps, whether they work with you or not, right? Your value is not conditional on what they perceive of you. Your value is not conditional to what they get from you, right? You're gonna get your value because you are valuable, and because you're valuable, you get to give, right? And it's about providing that step-by-step process, especially now, right? So with Michelle, she came to me because, her and I, we were working on the Crypto Connect Expo together, and she realized that, you know, we were pretty cool. She's also a Leo. You know, we call ourselves twinsies. And she was in a predicament because she wanted to price herself and host another event. She wanted to help co-produce another event that was happening in Miami, and she didn't know how to charge, like what her worth was, right? And we had gone through the process of getting clear about who she is, who she's serving, why she's serving them, what they get as a result, you know, the qualifications and her experience. And we summed it all down into 3 moves to generate revenue to like what her pricing was. And we asked, what's the minimum that you will charge for your experience in working with these people? And we figured out that number. Then we figured out like a good average benchmark in the middle, and then we figured like the highest price that she could charge. And I said, look, if you just start at the highest level, eventually you're gonna land where you want to be. And she gave me a call because not only did she have a favorable conversation, not only did she get paid what she thought she was worth, but she got the gig, she worked it, and now she's able to work, and she's gotten other clients because of it. Right? She's now the COS at the first what is it, what FAWC. It's like the first wives of crypto, right? It's like a crypto a membership for women, and it would have never happened had she not closed that deal, and it would have never happened if those people didn't experience her in that position. And now she's just racking up all these other strategic partnerships, right? But what it took was first identifying herself, getting clear about who she was, and I was able to walk her through a process that was so step by step. It was so easy. I literally gave her templates to fill out. And those of you who are on this call, you're going to be receiving the same template that I sent to her for your troubles and what you're doing outside of here. And very shortly after is, okay, the next step that I would do with Michelle if she wanted to continue to work with me in this level is to consider what are some insights. How can you help other people in this field, right? In your specific field, in your profession, what are the insights that you've learned from actually doing the work? Like, what are the things that you've learned? What are the things that work? What are the things that don't work? How do you organize these insights in a way that's comprehensive for the receiver, right? So in this case, I actually want to take you to a document that I wrote because it's going to allow you to understand what I'm talking about at a deeper level, right? Provide them with insights. So I had a client of mine. His name is Mikhail. He's actually a partner of mine. Let me see where it is. Let me reshare my screen. Stop the share. And let me know if you guys can see. And I want to show you this screen, not just yet at least, but this screen. Can you guys see the screen? Right? Awesome. So I'll show you two different documents, right? Let me show you actually this one's probably a little bit better. So this is a long document, but it's long on purpose, right? Mikhail came to me. He was again, he was experiencing something with his old team, and he wanted to create something for himself. He wanted to take all his experience, his life experience, and start to organize it in the way that he'd be able to walk somebody through step by step how to work it, right? So this is one of the things that we created, and this is what we call a sales letter, right? But essentially, this is like a blueprint for all the messaging that he's going to be using long term for marketing, for branding. Specifically, what he teaches is how to make, basically how to do what he's done, which is make over $1 million in 18 months. He did it twice, right? He did it twice, same type of business model, 2 different companies. And he broke it down into a 12-step guide on how to earn $100,000 a month, raising capital for businesses without paid ads, right? So we wrote this together, and there's a long list of questions. And there's a whole bunch of one-on-ones that we did together to get here, but it got very clear. And what he started to do was, one, he's showing the proof. He's showing the proof of what he's been able to make. right? He's showing literally screenshots from his bank statements of what he was bringing in on those months, right? 6-figure months, consistently 6-figure months, showing his bank statements, his Google reviews, right? So this is a hint to what we're going to be talking about next. But he got to the point where it's like, who is this for? Right? I'm talking about who does he serve? Right? Here's the truth. This is like the real rap raw about his. This is the probably the most insightful aspect of what he does. Talked a little bit about himself, positioned himself as the authority, right? Talked about his past and his experience, his life story, right? And then we started talking about why should people care, right? So he started to give them insights, started to give them game about the business. Like, who are the borrowers? Like, who are the people that you're looking to serve? Who are the people you're working with? Right? He got into who are the lenders, right? The types of lending opportunities. He started to talk about like the different types of drivers and somebody who's in a loan position making a decision as to why they should loan you money. And then he started to talk about how to position yourself as a capital consultant, which is the whole premise of this letter, right? So he goes into this, and then you start seeing these steps, right? So he provides them with a step, just like we talked about in one of the previous slides, right? But then he goes on to start creating these insights. You can access billions in capital. This is an insight. And then he talks about and backs that up. You don't need to be backed by a VC or a private equity firm to get started. You simply need to sign yourself with lenders who are offering capital. You need to basically become an affiliate of bank offices and loan offices that are already applying capital, right? So I'm providing you this example because this is a finance example, right? This is something that's not necessarily as easy as coaching or health or the things that we've been talking about, even consciousness. But he's able to take what he knows, his expertise, and break it down into these unique, useful insights. If you're a newcomer, you have an advantage. Interesting. Why is that? Gives you to read a little bit. Learning and underwriting process first. Why would you need to do that? He tells you why. And you might be seeing this as a letter. You're like, Josman, why are you showing me this 100-page document? Each of these unique, useful insights is a reel for Instagram. Each of these insights is a topic for a video. He can get on camera, something doing like what I'm doing right now, get a mic, and just start talking about his life experience without having to be scripted. Right? It was in extracting this information from him, right? Him breaking it down step by step and then providing unique, useful insights about his life experiences that is differentiating him from other people in his field. Right? And he's over delivering. He's giving you questions, right? Those questions that people already are asking themselves. Do I need to have experience to apply this? How many lenders should I sign up with? How do I get paid? He's anticipating in advance what people would be asking and then delivering them the answers to that. Okay. Position yourself online as an investor, right? That's the second step. And then he gives you some unique, useful insights, right? Anything you see here in bold is a unique, useful insight. And what he says after that is explaining why or how he came up to that conclusion, right? So he's over delivering by just talking, by just keeping it real and breaking it down, right? So imagine when somebody asks me, Josmar, I want a new opportunity where I'm raising capital for people. I'm looking to do something. I'm like, well, would you be open to becoming a capital consultant? I send them this. What do you think happens? I send them this document. What do you think happens? Three things actually. They open it and they don't read it. Nothing happens. I just gave them something. Nothing happens. They can say I sent them something, but that's about it, right? Second thing, they see it, they go through it, they read it, and they're like, okay, wow, this guy is giving me everything, right? And they still take no action, right? Something comes in the way, maybe they get distracted, but at the very least, they now know that both Josmar and Mikhail know a little thing or two about raising capital, right? And they can use this as a guide, right? In some points, we actually give them like scripts, right? This is what the offer's like. We talk about the welcome letter. We give them little scripts to use, right? Congratulations. Like we give them like the invoice, like what to include in an invoice, right? So even if they don't take action on it, if somebody ever comes to them and talks about making money raising capital, they now have the link that they can share with that person. Because we've over delivered, they feel like they need to give, right? And that happens in the form of sharing this with other people, even if they're not invested in the actual solution. And then the third thing is that they read this, they're like, wow, this person's talking to me. He gave me everything that I needed. I want to get started. How do I get started? Right? The person has now gone through the process where they've learned who Mikhail is. They've learned the steps that they need to take, right? They know what to look out for and what not to do, right? They have all these unique, useful insights. So now they feel like they know more than the rest of the market because they actually do, because we're giving them the goods up front, right? And we provide them the questions and the answers. So when somebody else comes up to them and starts to give them objections, we are answering those objections up front. And if they're looking to, and once they get started, they actually have a roadmap to getting to that $100,000 a month, right? Through building a team, through having somebody manage their business, right? And systematizing and automating their sales, marketing, and operations, which is also what Mikhail and I do, right? So this document right here is where he's just layering these insights. He's providing those steps and he's giving people the options about what they can do, right? So that's just an example of a piece of content that is going and providing them with unique, useful insights, right? And it's organizing them in a way where it's easy to follow and understand. And for those who are really invested, it provides them with a level of knowledge that, again, you're transferring so much information. You're potentially saving somebody 5 to 10 years of them having to figure it out on their own. So imagine what that would look like if you did something like that for your clients or for your audience. You gave them a tool where upfront they realized that you were the person that they needed to work with because you got the secret sauce, you know what it takes, you actually care, right? And by doing all these things, you're positioning the problem as a solution. You're positioning the problem as the opportunity to grow. You're allowing them to shift their perception as being the victim and as somebody who can actually do something about it, right? You're giving them hope. You're giving them a way out. You're giving them a way in, right? And your ability to communicate will help somebody go from complaining to doing something about it, right? So you want to create a list of the 5 to 10 problems that the people you're going to work with, right? What are the common challenges or obstacles that your target audience is experiencing? What are their frustrations? What are their pain points? What are the recurring complaints? And if you want to take a screenshot of this, please do, right? Because these questions right here are very important in understanding what somebody's actually going through, right? What are the common challenges they have, right? And let me go back so that you guys can get it if you haven't got it already, right? Over the last few weeks, we've talked about the problems that from the consciousness perspective. But right now, it's just allowing yourself to receive all this information, right? The conscious problem audit is a process that I use when I do one-on-one sessions with business owners. And I typically have them at like, give me as many problems as possible. I want as many problems as possible because the more I know about the problems that the customer, the consumer faces, the easier it is to create something for them and to actually communicate our conscious authority to them, both verbally and non-verbally, right? So these are just some examples. People that I serve typically have no sales process. Their pitch changes every time that they talk to somebody because they haven't kind of figured out that one thing that works all the time, right? They're not setting enough appointments or setting up enough phone calls. You know, there's something off in their sales and marketing process, right? So by getting clear about it, you can then go and move on to the next step, right? Which is to list the solutions. And I would say list 1 to 3 solutions for each problem. What are their dreams? What are their goals? What are their aspirations? What are their desired outcomes? Like, what do they want, right? What are the solutions that they're looking to achieve in relationship to these problems that they're talking about or that they've shared with you, right? Are there any benefits that people can expect from working with you? What are those things? Are there any recurring requests or demands? Are people asking you the same questions over and over and over again? If somebody's asking you the same question over and over again on a sales call, or a conversation or a coaching call, that this is something that you can systematize, or that you can create a piece of content that answers to that question. Because if it's coming over and over again, you know that there's somebody out there who has that question. And by you providing an answer, you're positioning yourself as a person who knows the answers, who has results, who has the solutions that could potentially help them, right? Conscious authority is not about you receiving something, it's about you giving something, right? So in this case, what are the solutions, right? And I'm just giving you a list of some of the solutions that I've provided in the past, right? This is literally copy and paste from one of the spreadsheets that I have, right? We consult on the process. We provide people with a systematic approach, right? We build them the necessary funnels, the automations. We do the copywriting with them, right? We help them extract their life's work and put it in writing, right? And in doing so, they have a transformational experience because now we're reflecting, and the parts of their past that they don't like, right? The things that may have triggered them, those things come to the surface, and now we're able to work with them because that is what I do professionally. Is past the sales stuff, past the business stuff. It's really about people and the perception they have of their problems, the perception they have of themselves, and the use and the words that they choose to use about communicating what they do with who they do it for, right? So, again, just to save the time, Andrea,
We have a session.
you heard her story. She was able to replace some income, and it's because, and again, not just replace her income, but she started a business for herself. I helped her name her company. Um, that was, for me, it was extremely gratifying because this is something that I've known since like 2008. And she was basically taking 85% of the job, like 85% of the coursework of the load of the business. And she told me that she wanted to work for herself. And there was a lot of things she was holding on to from her life, from her dad, from her mom. And it was when she started to focusing on the results that she's creating for her people, the experience that those people were having from her therapy sessions. When she was able to communicate that to other people and position herself as the transmitter, right? As a person who does help. When she started her business, people started to come in, and within 3 to 4 months of having the business, she was able to, again, replace her income and leave, right? And have that experience. So position yourself as a transmitter. How do we do that? Right? What are we doing? So we are to present case studies. Now, when you're presenting a case study, you want to be able to use a professional photo of your customer if things allow for it, right? Sometimes you have customers that don't want to be seen. So respectfully, if they do have a professional photo and they are willing to share it, you have the ability to share that in this way. Also, if you're doing some type of life transformation or some physiological transformation, health coaching, nutrition coaching, personal training, you want to be able to show before and after photos. It's probably the most important thing for you to show. And it's actually the highest converting content that you can ever display are before and after photos, right? If you help somebody with their skin, if you help somebody with their makeup, these are the type of things that people want to see. Where was this person before and where are they after? Right? If you're working with a business owner, if you've helped a business owner and they're open to have their contact information and become a referral, this is another way where somebody new can say, hey, maybe I'll call this person to see how their experience was with Miguel. Or maybe I'll call this person to see how their experience was with Amy or Itzel. Right? This also does a lot of heavy lifting when you're presenting this information online and you're sharing case studies, and people can click on the links because then now they're like, oh, wow, these are actually real people. These are not paid actors. This is not somebody who's trying to scam me. These are actual people that I can find on LinkedIn, right? These are actual people who have a Facebook or Instagram and maybe are presenting or maybe have shown their transformation, right? Online. So if you want to screenshot this, please do, right? You also have written testimonials. written testimonials are, I would say, static testimonials. They don't move, right? And they have the ability to share the story that somebody had and allow for somebody else to live vicariously through the story that they have and share that with other people, right? These are the type of things that you can pull from a video. You can pull it from a conversation. Sometimes I've done it in the audio, right? And when you have video testimonials, the video testimonials are so much more impactful, so much more, let's just say, relatable than anything else. It's the most real that you can get besides being in front of the person and actually having a conversation with them is showing them the video testimonial and then having a case study hook. A case study hook is like an example. It's like uh Joe Smart helped Cryptocurrency Academy generate $100,000 in 5 days, right? That's the idea of a hook. Or, Miguel lost 30 pounds in 6 months, right? Those are the type of hooks that people want to hear and read, right? And when you've actually done this yourself and actually supported somebody in these are the type of things that they want to see. So if you want to, if you, it sounds annotating everything. If you want to look at these things, copy and paste it, again, screenshot it, do your thing, right? So next part of the presentation, boom, and we're getting to it because we're finishing up with this thing here. Save, share in folder, boom. So at a glance, these are the type of things that I like just in doing reflection work, right? I was able to look back at the things that I've helped people with, right? And this is something that you should do for yourself. You've probably haven't thought about your whole life experience and like looked at your resume and talked about all the results that you help people achieve, right? And then taking the results, maybe they be from jobs that you used to have, maybe they be from other things, and utilize those results and maybe what you enjoyed about creating those results. Like, what did you enjoy most about those things, and put them into the place. So, like when I was an active undergrad with my fraternity, I was very big on promotion. I literally designed almost all of the flyers that we used for about 3 years, and I showed up for events. I performed, uh, not only at NJIT at Rutgers, but also at other schools. And that activity helped us go from basically a chapter that was dying to 35 members in about 3 years, right? It, most people would say that it happened very quickly, right? For us, it was just organically, right? I know Miguel is actually one of my fraternity brothers, and his chapter grows pretty quickly as well. Things can change real quick with the right promotion, advertisement, and online presence, or presence just on campus, right? But what changed is now I have the ability to share that story in my life, right? Or it was what I did at Blueberry Builders by essentially doubling the size of the business and bringing in over $2 million for the company in the 2 years that I was there, right? Well, off lease only, where I promoted 4 times in 7 months, and went from not knowing how to talk about cars to selling 30 cars a day, right, on a bad day, and having a team that was doing that much production, right? So these things didn't come because I was just the greatest thing, right? It came from me being in the trenches, me doing the work, and me being able to identify problems, provide solutions, tell stories about other people's experience, and use those case studies as a way to have a conversation, right? Use case studies and stories of past clients as a way to answer objections for the person that's right in front of me, right? And it's when you have an experience like that that you can make a lot of changes. For example, with me and my mother, in 2016, I had left a job that I was working. I was in a pretty bad position. I kind of left there prematurely, and my mother, was home. She was with us at the house, and we needed to figure out something to do. So we started producing events, started decorating events. And by that time, I had planned, promoted, I developed flyers, hundreds of flyers for the different events that I promoted back in the day. And I learned about the case study and the importance of case study when I started working with Joel Bauer, who was one of my mentors. And I showed up to one of his membership courses and I started to be able to produce all these things. I started to produce books, I started to write things, I started to just wrap myself differently. I started to promote myself and the fact that I could do events.
People come here for several reasons. They come here to learn about plant.
And I started to just present.
Excited about what's happening. There's 87 vendors.
I started to use all the little techniques that I had in my life and use the case studies up to that point in my life to get new clients. And then the pandemic hit, right? And then I needed to transfer all the things that I was doing with physical online events and translating that into, online events, going from offline to online. And in doing so, I produced some presentations. I started to build the case studies. I started to build all the digital assets and opt-ins and all these things that we
What is the
talked
result
about.
of somebody going through the STF Academy master classes? It's community. It's
building that community. It's having transformational experiences. $104,000 in 5 days. Right. And this is an example of a case study. So imagine if you did something like this, a slide like this for each one of your clients from the past. If you can tell their story in a chronological way and not just let it be about the results, but let it be about what you achieved or the emotional experience that you had as a result. I'm grateful for everything that we're doing here in implementing what Joe has taught me because it's allowed me to be home with my mom. And last year she took her last breath. And I'm just so grateful because I was there. Right? It's about the end result. People only care about what's in it for them. And even then, it's still surface level. Just like we talked about last week with super conscious income. Right? People need to have the experience. They need to be able to visualize and experience what transformation would look like in working with you. And this is probably the highest part or the most effective way to create conscious authority in a market, especially in today's market, is being able to show the proof of not only what you've been able to do, but what your clients have been able to do. And over the last 5 years, I haven't made much, right? But I've been able to stay at home and work from home. And for me, that was priceless, right? And it was only possible because I got clear about what I wanted. And what I wanted was to feel like I was present for my mom. That's really what I wanted, right? I wanted to experience the feeling and the emotion of being present. And as challenging as it was to do that, I did it. Right? I got really clear about what was important. It wasn't the money. It wasn't being able to brag about the things that I do. It was just being able to actually do the things that I care the most about and be and live in a way that's a little bit more free. So when I talk about this last pillar, when we create content, you got to focus on how you want to experience your content. And even deeper is how you feel after you create the content is more important than the actual content itself. What you experience in creating the content, what you experience in giving away the content, what you experience in over delivering to somebody else, what you experience in providing a step-by-step process that's so insightful that people actually take action on it and become a case study, right? They actually do the work and they get the result, right? And having that satisfaction that you've been able to use your own life experience and translate it to somebody else. So much so that they are now, They're like the gift that keeps on paying it forward through the experience they've had with you. That all starts with how you wanted to feel, right? It all starts with that emotion. If you could embody that now, if you can tune into super consciously to the feeling that you would feel having helped somebody, having given them the work up front, having over delivered, having provided them all that information, and having them an experience where they're calling you back and saying, Amy, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be living this life. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do these things. And now my children get their mom back, right? If it wasn't for Miguel or Itzel and doing blank, I wouldn't be experiencing blank. Allow yourself to fill in the words. Paint the picture. See vividly what you're looking to experience and get into the emotion of that experience. Because it's from that emotion that when you create something and what you create gives you that feeling, then whether the material stuff comes immediately or even it comes from the person that you're delivering it to, it's going to come back to you because it's about the frequency, vibration, electromagnetic frequency that you experience in that end result. When you are giving that away up front and you're not asking for anything in return, you're leveraging the laws of creation, right? You're utilizing your effort to get somebody from unconsciously incompetent to unconsciously competent through the act of being consciously aware of what needs to be done. You provide them the insights, they get to know you, they get to like you, they get to trust you, and now they speak well about you when you're not in the room. Whatever those experiences that you want, the money, living in a new environment, a new country, those emotions and that state of being is the secret. It's being able to not only feel it today, feel it every day, and even when you don't feel it, is anchoring yourself to that feeling and emotion, acting from that state of being, and letting that vibration fill up the content that you're creating, whether that's a book, whether that's a video course, or whether this is a phone conversation or a phone consult, right? That's the secret sauce. So that's why I say it's arguable that this is the first pillar. This is the first step. But just like in what I've been preaching today, it's about other people. It's about giving others first. So I wanted to at least give you the opportunity to think about the people you're serving for this entire session before we bring it back to you, because it's all about you, right? And some emotional benefits that I've gotten, like that I've written down for myself is, like imagine what you would feel like if you got thank you notes from your customers, or what you were able to do, or what you positioned yourself to do, helped create jobs, right? Positioned you as a sought out mentor. Maybe you had the money to provide for charity in the future, retire yourself for the next 5 to 10 years. How would you feel as a result? Right? How would you feel if you were able to pay for the private education of your kids and other people's kids? Right? Maybe you want to buy a new house or a new car. What you really want is the emotion that you would feel after having it. Right? It's the emotional benefit. It's the emotional income that you would feel having achieved it. Right? That's what it's about. And if you can transfer that emotional income to somebody else in the form of content, not only are you positioning yourself, not only are you doing all of that, you're getting them to feel you. They feel the human aspect of you. And that's something that it's hard to teach, but it's easy to do when you leverage the 5 levels of consciousness, when you know how to generate super conscious income by connecting to source, connecting to creative through your super conscious mind. And then from that super conscious perspective, creating content that actually shares with people that you give a fuck about them. Right? That's what it's about. And, with Scott, he didn't think that he was able to host an event. So I didn't let him off the hook. I said, let's do it together. All right. I joined his team. He put a pretty good team together. and things were all over the place. I'm just gonna keep it real. It was a shit show, right? But we put together an expo. We did it in 90 days, less than 90 days. We collected 200K in 90 days from about 80 something sponsors. We had 2,500 people come to that event. And the reason why it happened because he was able to feel the end result. I was able to get him to feel the end result because I felt the end result. I knew what it would feel like to have that end result because I have already done it. I had already done it with another expo, right? So I said, look, if I could just tune into that and tune into this crypto space, which I know nothing of, if I can anchor that emotion and I can feel it and I can get him to feel it, and we're coming from that state of being, you know, whether we're forcing it or coming from a place of power, it happened, right? And it did. We pulled it off. And it's because he felt like he was capable of doing it. And he felt capable of doing it because he had that experience internally first, and it was my greatest joy because again, he had to do a lot of work, right? So let me actually just go back to this and provide you guys some things. So just like a recap of everything that we talked about, right? These 7 steps, these 7 pillars, and the gifts that you're getting today specifically. I wanted to give you this bonus example too. So this is just like copywriting of call to actions, right? Part of the conscious marketing techniques is to have a call to action. It's actually the last step. So I wanted to give you guys these. You can screenshot this. It's about these words in this order, right? Click here is an action. Schedule a demo, attend, take advantage of, pre-qualify, contact, join and visit, follow, experience. These are the type of action words that you can use to call somebody into action. And then the words after them, you can fill it with whatever you have, right? But those are also pretty good patterns of language to model. So if you want to screenshot this, you can. Again, you're getting so much more than this. So one of the things, and this is the last thing I'll talk about because it's a lot, right, is the 10 moves to clarity. So let me just log in here. Actually, let me open it up for some questions as I pull up the gifts that I have for you today. Let me open up this. Boom. So let me go over to documents. So by midnight tonight, you're going to be able to go to emotionalincome.com. Actually, let me see if it's live yet. Emotionalincome.com. So I was working on this funnel earlier today. Okay, it's active. It hasn't been republished yet. But here you're going to find the recordings of our past workshops, right? This is another one. There should be another workshop here. I'm giving you a couple things here, and then I'm going to upload the other video here as well. These are all different videos. I'm going to move these buttons over. You're going to be able to apply for sessions with me here as well. There's an application process that I'm going to have you guys fill out if you're in a position to work and take it to the next level. But more specifically, I wanted to show you this because I'm going to be uploading these right now. Okay. So let me show my desktop. Okay. Can you guys see my screen, my desktop screen? Pink, purple background. Awesome. Desktop. So in today, it just like putting these slides together, I realized there's a lot of gifts that you guys are due, right? So first and foremost, we talked about going through the power of using affirmations, a little bit about psychological kinesiology, how to muscle test. So that's in this document. It's 30 pages from one of the books that I helped co-write, The Pivot Point System. Talks about perception, behaviors. There's different things. We talk about energy EFT tapping here as well. So this is a tool that you can use. And for the sake of the conversation with the people here, you guys can utilize this as well. Model it if you need to. If you want to create content that talks about affirmations or anything like this, I wrote this, and you can model some of this language if you want to. That's the gift that keeps on giving. When you're a copywriter, you can give people your words, right? Another thing that that I have for you here is The Habit Shifter, which is another ebook that I wrote about shifting habits, daily steps to break bad habits and create new good ones. I think you'd like this one too, because this is something that you could also model if you choose to, right? You have my permission to use this book and anything that's inside of it. If you want to create other ebooks, it's clickable, so you can go from the table of contents to the specific part of the book where it's at. So this just teaches different things that you can use to shift, re-anchor, create new habits. You also get the conscious pitch exercise, which is what we went over earlier today, where I started to ask you questions. Here's a TED Talk video that you can watch about the topic, right? Some of the questions we asked: who are you? What do you do? Who do you do it for? What do people get out of it? I added another question. Here's a link to that video. And then there's a location to put problems, 3 potential solutions, and then how to develop a call to action, right? What are the questions to ask yourself to go about how can you communicate what it is that you offer, what you can provide somebody for free. And I would say probably the most useful gift you're going to get, besides everything that I've already given you, is a script. Okay. Now with this script, these are the words that I've used in closing, I would say 80% of my coaching clients. I've used these language patterns. They're NLP language patterns, right? Don't share them with anybody else, right? But you can, like, what's in red, you can change it for whatever your program is called or whatever it is that you're offering. But it's literally word for word how I would go about having a coaching call, right? I call it the clarity call. This is where we draw out the problem or the outcome that they want. What's the outcome you want? If you can wave a magic wand in the next 90 days, you can experience something. What would that look like? How to have that conversation, how to bring a person deeper than just the surface level, how to get to the root of what they actually want, which is typically an emotion, right? Again, it's all, this is the goods right here, right? These are the goods. But this script alone, you should be able to book a whole bunch of calls, right? A whole bunch of, and then have people make that transition from being a person on a free discovery call to an actual coaching client who's paid you, right? I know that because that's how I've used this, right? And then how to offer yourself as a program, how to offer what you do as the resource, right? Let me understand if I hear what you're sensing. Let me see if I hear what you're sensing, right? You want to move away from living this type of lifestyle and you want to move towards that. Does that sound about right? All right. Picture yourself on one side. Again, it's a transformational mechanism that you can use in having a conversation. Coaching is always about a system of support and accountability. People need to hear that, right? Actually there's like a health example in there. I use subconscious transformation when I use this script, when I was really using it the most. And again, you can just replace this with your own words and you can change it. What I asked that you don't do is reword it and then sell it to other people or try to offer it to other people, right? Because again, it's intellectual property that I'm giving away right now. All right. So boom, that goes. And how might you invite somebody to take a step, whether you're looking to do a practice client or you're looking to do it as a paid client, is how to have that conversation, what you would need to have ready, how to script for the paying client, how to talk about the investment. Boom. So it's all pretty much there, right? It's not, so you're also getting that. That's going to be available to you before midnight tonight. You also get a copy of, at least a digital copy of my book, Conscious Leverage Creation, right? So it's this book in digital format, and I give you the editor's copy, so it's like reading it like as a PDF, right? All the words, boom, 160 pages of that. So enjoy that for those of you that have the time to read. This is something that you can read on a plane ride. I've done it. I read it and edited it on a plane ride, right? So it's possible. I take you a little bit further with the conscious campaign. The conscious campaign is how to develop a campaign for yourself. Once you know what you're offering, like what it actually takes to get it out to people, how to think about the process of campaigning, even before you get into paid advertisements, just like what actually works. And I give you a story of my experience. I think Miguel, you'd enjoy this little story because I talk about a campaign with Miko, how we went from, again, only having 2 paid active members on campus to having 25 paid brothers, on campus in a very short period of time. What we did, it was we just hosted events. Right? It's the key to success is events, and I know you know that, right? So talk about that and a recap. What are the 5 steps? What is your income goal? How many clarity calls do you need to be generating in order to get to your income goal, right? What percentages to look to strive for, how to create a networking campaign, how to go about finding referral partners. So it's the questions to ask yourself, right? It's the fillables, filling in the gaps, all these things. So you're gonna get this as well, right? All this stuff, boom. And the only thing that's not active is this last page, but I'm also going to give you access to the new Facebook group, and that's going to be on emotionalincome.com, right? Besides that, you'll also get access to again, this training video that it's also on the website that I just finished uploading. This is a 30-minute video of me. Hello, everyone. This is me actually going through the clarity call script. So going into it in depth, talking about it, how to utilize the conversation. So again, not only is it the actual script, but how to go and use the script, right? And over time, I'll be probably doing some live demonstrations of this, or showing you some recordings of some live demonstrations of this and putting it and adding it to the emotionalincome.com website, right? So, there's a couple of things that I wanted to share with you guys. First, I want to open it up to questions. I know we're like way over time, but I couldn't help myself. I needed to share with you guys what I was going to show you, how I wanted to over deliver, and then, hey, what's next? Now that you've done all this stuff, I want to know what's next for you. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, concerns, some extra details, unmute yourself, ask away. Let me hear you. And if not, that's totally fine, because I just gave you a lot to ponder on. All I
No,
know
I
is
just
that
wanted to say I appreciate the information that you provided us. I know for me right now, personally, I'm not doing anything on the business aspect yet because I'm still waiting to put together capital. But on a personal mindset of the information you gave us the past 2 weeks, and I did like the photo that you provided us, which was the emotional benefits. I felt like that was very handy for me right now in terms of the knowledge that I'm definitely keeping. I definitely screenshotted that. That's something that's gonna keep me going.
awesome, brother. I'm glad that we can support you.
I just want to say thank you too. And pretty much just like what you're saying is that to like let people see the whole journey and give them the solutions that you would provide in those 90 days. Just tell them what the path is going to look like, right? Like paint the journey, the solution.
It's giving them the experience before they have it with you. And allowing them to live vicariously through the results of other people, right? Like if you took nothing from today's workshop, the one thing that I would say is your ability to talk about people that you've already helped, or people that have taken the steps that you will help them take, even if they're not your clients. Sometimes if it's like especially with the Health Coach Institute, when I first got started, I'm saying I didn't have any clients yet, how do I talk to somebody about who I've helped and getting the results? But I leaned on the specific school that I went to and the process that they had and that they were teaching me with. And I talked about my own process. And then when that wasn't enough, I talked about other people's experience, because part of the process was learning from other coaches. Right. And I was just really good at relaying stories. Like, look, I met somebody last week who they had a sugar craving and it was like killing them. They're like, they couldn't get around this craving of sugar. And, the coach that I talked to, she has a way of talking to people where they identify the emotional aspects, why this person is emotionally going to sugar, what is behind that craving. And when she started to talk about that and gave her those experiences and give her just little exercises to do week by week over 12 weeks, she was not only was she able to let go of the craving, but she replaced it with healthier options and she lost 20 pounds in the process. And now she can fit into the clothes that she could fit into before her wedding. Was that my experience? No, it was somebody else's experience. But the fact that I was able to share it provided context to the person that was right in front of me about whether or not what I had was good enough for them. And I just let the story speak for itself. Right.
Yeah.
But when you provide somebody the steps up front, talk about what you're going to go through with them. You're not giving them the how. Right. You're giving them the what to do. Right. Or vice versa.
Mhm.
You're not giving them the what to do. You're giving them the how to do it. And it's like, well, how do I actually get that done? I understand what to do now, Estelle. Thank you for sharing with me and being all front. Now I know that if I'm going to work with you, this is serious. This is not something we're just going to wing. I'm just not just going to wing it. Like, you're actually going to show up for me. And we're going to consider all the things that don't work and all the things that work. And we're going to turn these little healthy habits into habits that stick. And I understand that it's not going to happen just through like doing quick fixes. Like, you're going to be working with me, holding my hand through the process. Right. And it becomes very clear when you break it down for them. And when you can break it down using other people's experience. The case studies is probably the most important thing. And that's at all levels of business, even nonprofit. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited for you, because that's even the script that you're about to get is, again, for coaching specifically, 60% of the time somebody gets on the phone with me, they pay for coaching. 60% of the time. Right? It's a lot more than 20%. It's a lot more than 30%. And again, it's the script and the person who shows up. It's the state of being that I come with when I show up, and they feel that it's not even about the money, it's about the experience, because I gave them the experience up front. I over-delivered up front. I gave them the experience they're looking for. I got clear about what they needed, and I asked them the magic question. What are you not doing for yourself that if you did it today, it would change everything for you? And sometimes the answer is like, oh, I just got to start sleeping more. Sometimes that question is like, I just got to start drinking more water. It's like, yeah, I just got to walk for 30 minutes a day. So it's not enough to know what to do, because most people already know what they have to do. Right? It's about holding them accountable. It's about supporting them. And it's about giving them a systematic approach that they can follow step by step. So even when they fall off, they can get back on track. Right? So yeah. One of the things that I used to offer, and I'm going back to, is that I would do, and actually Miguel has experienced a bit of this, so maybe we can talk about his experience. But it's having 6-session programs and 12-session programs. And you know what? Even something I think I'm gonna do now too, based off like my prior experience with metaphysical sciences specifically, is a 3-session package as well. Because there's a lot that we can do in 3 sessions if the sessions are like 2 hours long, right? So it's 3-session package, 6-session program, a 12-session. And what I used to charge for the 12-session package was, I think, $4,500, right? Based on what I know now, the new things that I've integrated, the new processes that I've learned, we can climb the ladder of consciousness a lot faster. So when the retail price I'm gonna be offering it for is going to be $8,000 for 12 sessions. What are we considering? We're considering subconscious and unconscious. Rewiring, reprogramming, releasing, busting some fears, working through phobias. We're talking about, again, rewiring their perception, and then helping them to shift their presence online. Reconsider how they're showing up, right? Help that person with how they're communicating about themselves. So the retail is going to be 8. They're experiencing things in a different way, where we can, record the process. We can use them as a case study and utilize their experience for other people in the future, so people can live vicariously through experience. So that's what I'm going to be doing. When I'm going to put all these workshops together, you guys will be the first to know. And for the first 10 people, they're going to get, for $1,000, they're going to get 6 sessions with me. And those sessions are going to go for 90 minutes at the very least, right? Because we got to consider all things. I'm like excited about it because I've never done this before in this way. I typically have always charged like the full price and then went down. I know even with Miguel's had an opportunity to work for me as well. Yeah, and if you could, like, I don't know, how was your experience, Miguel? Like, I'd love to hear how when you were living down in Boynton and we were working together on emotions and beliefs. What was your experience like?
It was definitely eye-opening. Definitely gave me a different perspective on certain materials, especially when we talked about food, when we talked about how our body stores energy, and also where our memories always kick back to a certain place, depending on the sections we're at emotionally. It always goes back to a specific moment, and then whether it be inside a household or somewhere else that we're at, there's always a trigger of something that takes place, and it's either a twitch that takes place in our body from memory of it, or just a feeling that we get from it that just like it interacts with one another in terms of different ways. And it's crazy how one side carries more weight probably than the other side. Realize it until like we did last week with the hand sessions. I remember fighting that last time when we first did it in Florida too. And we spoke about, like I said last week, we spoke about before how I carry things on the left side and how it's funny how my name is Lefty. And like I said, majority of all my weight and all the pressure I always feel is always on my left shoulder and chest, no matter what. Everything else of my body is fine. But anytime I feel pressure or tension, we spoke about it before, it's always on my left shoulder and chest. And I could never explain
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Yeah, I know it's I'm glad that we were able to do that work too, man. Because I know that it definitely put a lot of things into perspective for you. I'm glad that we can that we can do that work, and looking forward to doing even more work, especially down the line. And whether that's something that you want to do for yourself, or it's a gift that you want to provide somebody else, you can earn some income by sharing the wealth, right? If somebody is, I'm open to do 15% of 3,000 for that membership when it first comes out. So, you're talking about what, $450 in a referral fee that you get for referring somebody who goes through the program, pays for it, and actually has the results. I'll be able to talk about you in my videos as well, which is also an indirect form of promotion for you and whatever you're offering. And for the one-on-one sessions when they go again, whether I'm offering them 3-session package or a 6-session package or a 12-session package, you're earn anywhere between 10 and 20%, or that what I feel makes sense for that offer. And obviously the percentage is changing because sometimes I'm going to be offering it at a discounted rate than the retail rate. But also there's going to be an option for people to take on our business offering and services too, right? People are going to be in a position to get capital, right? So one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Miguel, we're going to be in a position to get capital for businesses. We already are. I just haven't set up the affiliate yet for you guys, but I'm in a position to do so. Same thing for if somebody comes to us to do and build out their systems, build out their automated systems, do their sales letter, like all the stuff that you kind of saw me talk about today, and producing that long document that I had with Mikhail. It's being able to produce that type of sales letter, that like marketing Bible, where it just provides us the type of content that we can talk about all year long, right? That's what we do for businesses as well. So if you're in a position where you have friends or family, coworkers, people that you've worked with in the past that own a business, they're already doing well, they have the capital where they're either looking to scale their business, we can take them on that route, or if they're in a position where they want to scale their consciousness, we have it covered. We can take on both tracks separately, and we could even put them together. In fact, probably the one that has the most benefit is when I'm working with the business owner and shifting their consciousness as we're building their marketing and sales campaigns, because that's when it's like the most profound shift in them. We're in it, we're in the feeling, we're in the states of being, and we're creating the content, and you do things like potentially make 6 figures in 5 days, right? Or bring in $200,000 in 90 days. Or in the case that I've done with past clients where they're doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in a very short period of time, if not millions of dollars in a very short period of time. So if there's anything that I can do to serve you, please let me know. Besides that, I just need to get back to uploading these documents for you so that I can get you all these PDFs, close out this call so I can get the recording of this call and uploading it as well. That way that you guys have access to all the trainings in one spot. And I'm going to give you guys access for 30 days to all this stuff. So you'll have 30 days to reconsume it, 30 days to download all the downloads. Again, all it takes is a little bit of time. It's as simple as 5 minutes to download everything, right? But I'm going to give you guys 30 days because I know distractions happen as well. I know distractions happen, and I know you guys are busy. So you'll have the ability to not only watch these videos, but also share the link with anybody, right? And I'm going to add this job form. I'm probably going to put a section where people can choose if they were referred by somebody. So if somebody does fill that application out in the future, there's going to be an opportunity for them to select your name from a list. That way, if they do sign up for something, I can pay you accordingly. Does that sound fair? Good, right? Awesome. So again, thank you for being here. It's a little bit before 10. We were here for a good time and a long time, and I appreciate you. You could have been anywhere in the world, and you're here with us. And I appreciate that. I love you guys. And I'll continue to show it with my actions. Stay smooth, stay hype. Excel, drive safe, please. Woman on the move.